Hi, this is David Friio, and you're listening to the Green and White podcast.
That was good, wasn't it?
That's class.
You're grinning like a massive child.
I am, because that was just incredible. It's just like, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe it.
It's great, isn't it? Just the fact that we
Something mad.
casually on the Thursday evening just have an hour-long chat with David Friio. You're right.
Yeah, no, it's class. It's absolutely class. And we'll use that as the intro. Why not? You're about to listen to an interview brought, well, mainly by Sam, but by me and Sam and all at Argyle Life with, of course, you should know by now if you've seen the teaser or even read the headline of this pod, a man who made 185 appearances, scoring 44 goals, winning 2 titles on the way. Argyle legend that is David Friio. The only thing I will add, with some choppy editing, is that everybody listening, watching, supporting, subscribing, becoming channel members and stuff, we literally could not do this without you, because what would be the point? Just talk to him on our own for an hour. But anyway, no, really appreciate it. And hopefully there is another one in the pipeline that's equally as big, but I don't want to get excited because this one's class and we might never top this. Might we, Sam?
We'll see.
I was still buzzing. Enjoy.
So, who's Sam? Who's Aaron?
I'm Sam, and this is Aaron.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys. I really like your jersey, by the way.
Yeah, this one. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got it
I
actually.
re- I
It doesn't
remember that.
actually fit, but I was just like, I'm going to force it to fit for this. So, but yeah. How are you, David?
Very good, very good. And you see, sunny in France down there. So really glad to be there. It's a privilege to be on your side, and I'm looking forward to this interview.
Yeah, same. So are we. Like when you replied to our DM and said that you'd come on, like I've never been so excited for anything in my life, I don't think. So absolutely delighted. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. We hope that people will love this as well. So really do appreciate it. I suppose the best place to start really is the beginning, right? Growing up in France. Obviously you're back in France now. It's not as nice a weather here today. It was yesterday, it was all right, but not today. Like, just talk us through your like early upbringing in France and like when did you know you were going to be a footballer?
Really from the early stage. When I was really young, it was sort of a dream. But to be honest, I was always the thinnest, the smallest guy in the team, and I grew up very quickly in 1 or 2 years. Towards the 15, 16 or 17 years old. When I was 17 years old, I grew up really, 20 centimeters in France, in French. And it's always been a frustration, not to pass the grade and to be noticed by, the bigger clubs. So, I had a pathway quite difficult. But in the end, I was very determined, and for different reasons, and a bit of luck, a bit of meeting the right people at the right moment, and I managed to, at some point, when I was in Metz, it was a sort of not an academy, but a school academy. I was not able to sign a contract with Metz at the time. So I went and I got to 2 different amateur clubs, and it was the end of the story. And at some point, so I was going to the university, and I had the opportunity to make a trial for a team, but it was on the same day as an exam. So I went to the exam, having my bag of football at the back of my car, sitting down and thinking about what my parents would think about the situation, and it was my life. So, it was like a big decision. So I took the liberty to get, it was a clean sheet. To be fair, I took the clean sheet and I put it on the desk, and went to the trial, and it worked well. So from a thing and another, I signed a contract with that team. It was Épinal at the time, and it started there. So then I had the opportunity to join a third division club in France with lots of young players. We were all 20 years old, something like that. And all of a sudden it clicked, and the team was promoted to the second division, and then starting a professional career. And at some point, going to different clubs, I was unlucky to be relegated with a second division team, and I decided not to stay in the third division. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
And an agent called me. He said, "Listen, in England it's a bit special. It's different than France. They've got short-term contract. And you can go there. You can train. You can even play for them, and it's it's a monthly contract. So you can leave. You can leave whenever you want. So but it gives you the opportunity to be there. So okay." Which division? They said fourth division. Said, no, thank you. I'm not coming. So, and then I was about to sign for a first division club in Belgium, and then the agent called me back, and there was Romain Larrieu at the time. We were playing in the same team in France, Valence at the time. And he said to me, you should come. I've been on trial in Scotland. Now there's the opportunity in the southwest of England. Maybe it's a good opportunity. It was the same agent. And I said, well, just I'll give it a go. And this is the start of the story with Argyle, and arriving. I think it was something like December. To 2000. Yeah, it's a long time ago. And when it was very, I really remember one thing. The agent didn't tell me nothing. He said, well, you're gonna land in London. You see, it's not that far.
Yeah.
I arrived in Heathrow, and the guy picked me up. I said, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. So where are we going? So, and then we arrived, and I remember well, it was at the Swinton Hotel, a bed and breakfast with Roma, and everything started there. And I think when I arrived, there was a sort of maybe a League Cup game we went to at night. It was a Tuesday night, or I don't remember which game. The stadium was not really packed at the time. And then I started my trial the following day, and a week later I was playing against Exeter away, and then I really remember well this week of training, because it's totally different. I came from a higher level in France, obviously, but the intensity and the dedication, it was different. And then all of a sudden, I see me in the changing room in Exeter playing against Exeter.
That is a fall from grace, isn't it? That is a fall from grace.
And I think, if I remember well, there was Maka playing up front and Mickey Fcott at the back, and I saw them. We went out for the warm-up, okay? Coming back in a dressing room, preparing ourselves, and I saw a pot of Vaseline, on the table, and all the guys going there, putting the Vaseline everywhere. So what are they doing? Well, so I said, well, I have to do the same. So I went there, and when I was, and obviously I was playing as a midfielder. I think the ball didn't touch the floor during the game, so I was watching the ball from there. So I said, when the ball is on the floor, I will try to do my bit, But then we won 2-0, I think, and it was a long time the club didn't win a game because I think we were really bad state in the league. I think we were 21st in the league, and there was some flooding. There was some games in hand at the time, and my story with Argyle started there, and the rest is history. Yeah.
I was going to say we've skipped ahead a little bit, but I'm as excited to talk about the Argyle section of your career as you are, by the sounds of it, which is great. I suppose the only real thing is obviously you joined. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. Sam will know. You joined just 3 days after Romain, and we've got a YouTube membership community. And the first question they've wanted me to ask is, are you actually friends with him? So that's some serious friendship for you to up sticks from France to come all the way to the southwest just to be with Romain.
Well, I was not really friend with Romain at the time. You know, we were partners. You know, in colleagues in a team. He was, I think, the cover goalkeeper in Valence, and you know, he's a decent guy. You know, we were training normally, but when we got to Plymouth together, living together, same hotel, renting the same house at the very beginning, so we were sharing everything, and so we become really close. You know, and we become very good friends, and. He's a decent guy. He's I think we helped each other because I think it was a very good thing, you know, to know someone in the changing room. Because at the beginning you think maybe I can speak English, I can understand English. When you go in the changing room, you don't understand nothing. You know, Paul Sturrock with his Scottish accent. I don't know, the likes of Dave Worrell and Brian McClinchy speaking Irish, so we didn't understand nothing. So we said yes, and but it was, you know, the Paul Sturrock at the time changed a lot of things because he wanted to do it his way, and so he was bringing some players, you know, Graham Coughlin, Dave Worrell, Brian McClinchy, myself, and Romain. So there was lots of things going on there, and to be fair, the lads were really great, you know. And I think a couple of weeks after we arrived, there was the Christmas party, you know, with the lads, and it was I remember Paul McGregor saying, you know, well, we bring the French lads with us. It was a great experience. I will not tell you anything about that, but it was a great experience.
Yeah, it seems to be a running theme on our interview chats, that all these nights out that you footballers have, you all allude to them, but you just don't tell us what happened, even though there's rumours of, you know, goings on. But yeah, anyway, go on, Sam.
Yeah, I think some things definitely stay on the dressing room night out. So, hi, David. I'm Sam. I'm a big Argyle fan. I've been going since 2002. You were in the very first team I saw. So it's an absolute honour to talk to you on this podcast. So, but anyway, it's not about me. So going back to you when you first joined Argyle, Paul Sturrock, obviously you said yourself you had the opportunity to go to the very top league of Belgium, but you came to Argyle instead. How big a factor was Paul Sturrock in that, and his vision for you, his vision for the club, in persuading you to sign for Argyle?
Well, to be fair, I didn't speak to the gaffer at the time. You know, I think he had a good relationship with my then agent, and he trusted him because I think at some point when he was in Scotland, he must have brought, you know, a couple of players there, and the gaffer was happy with that, so he trusted him. And to be fair, we wrote our story by training, very simply, you know, with the team, and he said, "Oh, this guy is not too bad, and this goalkeeper is not too bad, so maybe we've got something." And we built our relationship this way. I didn't speak a lot with Paul, with the gaffer at the time, but we had, you know, just by watching ourselves, there was a real respect. You know, he knew that I could do a job for the team. I knew I was ambitious because I said, well, if I put a foot in England, maybe I will get opportunities. And with the situation in England at the time when you could play for the team you were training for, it gives you the opportunity to be in a shopping window also. And but really things, have got better and better. The club was in a bad situation in the table, and then we managed to make the second part of the season. I think we were really clear about relegation. We finished something like mid-table, and something was building on. And then I had to decide what to do, because I think when I signed my first non-contract forms, I signed an official contract until the end of the season, something like that. And then I had to decide, what's next, because I had a family, what I'm going to do, if the family is going to come there. And then I decided to stay. And, the following season has been incredible, winning the title. And so the family was happy, and the atmosphere was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things you alluded to, you started as a defender, but with Argyle, you were very much an attacking midfielder, weren't you? Was that down to Paul Sturrock who made that change in you, or was that happening already?
No, it was a condition for me, because I said if I drop a division or two divisions, because I was dropping two divisions to come to Argyle, I said to the agent that my only condition is to play midfielder. It's as simple as that. It was a real condition. I was initially I was a centre back but I was a sweeper at the time. Now it's getting back to this role, with a back three. But I was a sweeper in my early days, and then a normal centre back, in a back four. But in France, towards the end, I was used a bit everywhere, right back, centre back. But I wanted to. I knew when I was younger, I was a number 10. When I was 9, 10, 11 years old. So I had that in me. But I said, if I go to England and I drop a couple of divisions, at least I want to play, in the position I want. So I didn't say anything. I said, I'm not a centre back. But to be fair, I was not tall enough for a centre back in England, because playing in the lower leagues, you need to be 6'2" at the minimum at the back. Only Paul Wharton maybe is not that tall. But no, it was my condition, yeah. But it worked well.
Oh, it certainly worked well. I don't think any Argyle fan would argue that. And I think with Paul Wharton and Graham Coughlin at the back, they would have been quite hard to dislodge as well, wouldn't they? So that was a really incredible team, David. That first season with Argyle, 102 points, league winners. And I think you yourself got into the PFA team of the season, I think, for that league. So what were your main thoughts and highlights of that incredible season?
But I think in these leagues in England, I think it's still the case. The at the time it was League 2, League 1. Well, still is. You need a proper organization, because at some point, if you got good shape throughout the games, you always got an opportunity to score goals, as long as you keep your shape and your organization. And Paul Sturrock was very good at that, because at the time, I think, if I remember well, we had a formation at home and a formation away, sort of 4-5-1 away, and maybe 4-4-2, I don't remember, at home. So it was very clear, not something too complicated, but we knew exactly what to do. And from my point of view, in my role, I understood very quickly how it worked in England. It was not difficult for me to, in a way, because my strength then at the time was to arrive late in the box. But it was very natural, I would say, because I knew the games was finishing on a wing. And if it was Buster Phillips, he was coming back on his left foot. And I had the time, to get into the box. And I was lucky enough that, I had the flair to be at the right place at the right moment. And that's when I was really comfortable with the fact that in England it was very stereotype game. The wingers were doing this, the centre backs were doing that, playing the channel, blah blah blah. And at some point, the flair helps you to make something different. And I really understand that very quickly. And with the good organization, we had the quality of crosses we were putting in, we managed to have, I think, 3 or 4, very, very good seasons.
So, in your view, then, that simplicity you mentioned, was that really the key to why that team did so well? That respect of everybody knew their own role, everybody complemented each other. Was that the secret to the success, would you say?
Yeah. I think this is very important to any teams. The team spirit, the to be dedicated to the cause, the working aspect also. You need to be very, very focused on that. Even though it was the 4th division, as long as you keep your shape, you train well, and it was quite tough, to be fair. We physically we were better. We were running because at the time there was no data. Now, with my my job now, I'm really into that. To make a team perform, you've got the data. You know exactly how the volume of run you need to make at the high intensity. But at the time, we were ready for that. So as long as you are well organized, you are athletes, and you run more than the opponent, at some point you will get the opportunity to score goals. And so we were very organized. So lots of clean sheets. I don't remember, Romain, I don't know how many clean sheets he's had in these seasons, but it was phenomenal. And when it's a clean sheet, you've got a point. That's the minimum. And so we were really, really strong on that aspect. And we have to remember also that it's quite difficult to play for Plymouth, because at home it's fantastic, but away you're going. The first, I think that my second game, I was on a bus. I said, "Where are we going? Are we going to a different country?" I think we were going to Carlisle or something like that. I said, "My God." So is it going to be like this all the time? Because my first game was easy. It was Exeter. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, it's just an hour drive or 45 minutes." Then Bristol, okay. But then when you play Carlisle, Darlington, and all these different places in England, that's something. So you need a strong team spirit, because to make this type of trip, if you lose games, it could be very difficult. We were really there was a sense of togetherness, in this team.
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask regarding the sense of togetherness. Everybody who looks back at that era talks about what a great team spirit it was, and a lot of very strong characters in that team. Paul Watson, Graham Coughlin, Mickey Evans, obviously yourself, with Paul Sturrock as the manager. I guess how did it happen that those strong characters all gelled together so well? Because you can imagine in a lot of scenarios, all those strong characters might perhaps clash, but with Argyle, they all seem to really come together very well.
No, I think, but Paul Sturrock just built a new team. So, and fortunately, the guys who arrived had the right mentality. But to be fair, I think he knew the guys. Apart from us, Romain and myself, the other guys, he knew the McClinchy's, the David Worrell and Graham Coughlin. Either he knew them from the past in Scotland, or he was the gaffer. But he knew that it was important to have a real spirit in a team. But it was funny because the way we trained, and we're going to the far post at the time, the next to the stand, eating our beans on toast. That's another story, beans on toast. Because when I arrived in England, I saw Brian McClinchy eating beans on toast at 4:00 in the afternoon. I said, I will never eat that in my life. And 2 weeks later, I had beans on toast with cheese and I loved it, and I loved it. So the times we were training, it was very different than France, because in England we trained, then we went to the far post to have beans on toast and playing darts, and then train again an hour later. Because in France you go back home, you have a rest, you come back later in the afternoon. It's more professional at the time, but we did really well with that, because it showed that we were all together.
Absolutely. And then just thinking then towards the end of that season, then obviously the incredible day at Rochdale that we got promoted, 1-0 down, came back to win 3-1, and the Green Army invaded the pitch at the end. What were your memories?
I think I invaded the pitch myself, because I wasn't playing that game. I was suspended, but I traveled there. I remember. I think there was a couple of games. There was Darlington and Rochdale. I don't think I played the Rochdale game. I was suspended.
I did a little look online, and I thought you were suspended for the Darlington game, but I'm a bit young.
Darlington, yes, Darlington. Rochdale was there. Yeah,
Rochdale. Played, yeah.
No, but what I had some, flashes about my time at Argyle, and it's especially for the support, because it's crazy, because at the time in these divisions, to have a support like we've had, different places. We went to London, we went to QPR, went to. I really remember the Sheffield Wednesday game. In midweek, I think maybe there was something like 3,000 people from Plymouth traveling there. Even in the biggest team in France don't get that support away. Trust me, because in the last 4 years and maybe more, I was with top clubs playing in Europe, Olympique de Marseille, Olympique Lyonnais. Trust me, it's to get 3,000 people. I watched the game against Watford at the weekend. I watched the first half. So seeing the support was unbelievable, and I still got very fond memories about that. And I've been really accepted by the city, by the club, by the fans. Remember the Christmas times when I was invited to light up to switch on the lights for the city.
Mm-hmm.
The reception we've had after the title, I still got that. I watched that in Christmas with my family, and my son was I've got two sons, Maxime and Romeo, and Maxime was with us at the time in Plymouth, and I remember him on the pitch for the last game against that was the QPR game, and I remember him, on the balcony with all the fans there. So it's my long-serving clubs as a player. So for me, it's my club.
Absolutely, and going back to just in the order of how it happened, and we won the league. We took that step up to obviously what's now known as League One. I think back then it was called Division 2. That first season, beg your pardon, up we came 8th, didn't we? In between the two title-winning seasons. What were your thoughts on that season then? Because I think it was probably better than a lot of Argyle fans thought. I think a lot thought if we come top half, we've done okay, but to come 8th, was that above the expectations of the squad?
No, because I think we were the best team by far, in League 2 at the time. We won the title. So you go into a new season with, a lot of ambition, sorry. And you're ready for it. And the gap is not that big, between these two divisions. And 8th, I was very, we were disappointed, because at some point you say, well, okay, we can try and reach the playoffs. And so we felt short, but it was an evidence that the following season we were going for it. Because when you finish 8th, if you strengthen a bit the team with a couple of good new players, you can do it. And so the core of the team between the title, the first title and the second one, even the season after when we were in the championship, was quite the same. So we knew each other. We knew exactly. The only thing is just we changed managers because that's the fact, because of your success. When you're doing well, obviously you're in the window and people see that you're doing well.
Yeah, going back to that title winning season, then we will come on to the championship one. But that title winning season, there were obviously some very memorable games. We'd just like to get your memories of in particular, if we can. So we started that season, I think, kind of okay, didn't we? But it was around the October time that we really, really caught fire as a team. We had that run of games with the 6-0 win against Tranmere. I think you actually were back from injury, weren't you, for that one? You came back into the team.
And then Chesterfield.
Yeah, your hat-trick, of course.
Fort Vale. I remember this run. And I think I was on fire during this month in October. I think I've got that in my office, the player of the month or something like that. And it was unbelievable. This month has been we after this month we knew we were ready for it. It's just a question of making runs, and we were good at making runs. So when we were losing a game, maybe after we 6-7 in a row unbeaten, then you lose a game. We didn't lose that much during the league.
I think we only lost once at home all season, actually, and that was when you were out injured. So you can get away with that one. But that Port Vale goal, I remember. You must have been about 35 yards out, and you hit it into the top corner. What was even going through your mind to shoot from there? You must have had so much confidence at that time.
Yeah. Well, because it was, you feel things, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Because it is not a ping. It was a curved strike to the opposite side, or to the opposite corner, and if I remember well, also I think the fans had some problems, on the motorway, and some of them were not in the stands. It's a shame for them. They saw it on TV.
Me being one of them. Well, I tell a lie. We were 4-1 up when I got in. And I literally got into the stand 4-1 up, and about 5 minutes later, you scored that goal. So
that was waiting for you then.
Yeah, you that goal was worth all the waiting. Don't worry, it was an incredible goal. And then the Wednesday night after that, which I was sadly at school for at that time, I was too young to go up for Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. We went top of the league for the first time that night. That must have been an incredible moment. With a team of the prestige and history of Sheffield Wednesday, we went there and played them off the park, didn't we?
Well, I remember that game really well, because there is 2 or 3 games I can still really, really remember in my career. One of them is the one at Sheffield Wednesday, where you feel the atmosphere. For me, it was a great stadium. You can feel the atmosphere. The support was unbelievable. I think I scored 2 goals. We won 3-0 or 3-1.
3-1.
3-1. Yeah. Romain was very disappointed about not getting the clean sheet. But no, it was very, very well planned. It was like we were on the way. It was obvious that we had what it takes to get promoted again. But my only fear when I was in England was to play in the playoffs, because it could show the holidays in France. So I said, no, we're not going to the playoffs. It's either we got straight promotion or champions. That's the only solution for me, because it was really in my mind. Said, no, we're going to give everything.
Well, we got that done at the end. I suppose after all the good moments, one slightly less good moment at the end of that run of games, you had the incident with John Sheridan, the man who went on to become Argyle's manager. I think he reacted very badly to a tackle of yours, didn't he?
No, I think it was like there was really nothing. I think it was me who made the fault, but it was just a normal fault. There was nothing special. And then all of a sudden, I think when I turned, he was already there. So obviously, you need to go. To show that you're up for it. And you'd finish with a red card, and the story was he ran after me in the corridor, but I didn't see it, because everybody thought we had a fight in a tunnel, but I was already in the changing room, and I saw just the video after the games, and no, nothing happened, but it happens, and it's part of the story. I was more disappointed with my red card of the last game of the season, making a great save, the best save of the season probably, and then they missed the penalty. But I was gutted, because in France, normally when you get a suspension, at the end of the season they clear everything. But when I came back for preseason, I had to serve 2 games, banned. So I didn't start the following season, and so I'm making all the preseason and not be able to play the first game of the season. You're very frustrated.
Yeah,
but it was worth it.
Worth it for the celebrations of that game. But we just going back in time a little bit. Then obviously we had that little dip in form. We lost at QPR, but then we recovered. We were on a great run, and then of course came the moment that could have been a real blow to our season, but we recovered. Was when Paul Sturrock obviously left for Southampton. How much of that did you guys in the squad know about? Was that a big shock to you? Was it not a shock?
No, to be honest, I remember quite well the afternoon we've heard the story, because we've been told to report to the stadium. And because when you're French and you don't get into these rumors and everything, and to be fair, it was a real shock for me, because it was all of a sudden arriving at the stadium, say, well, the gaffer is leaving. No, you're joking. And then we were in the changing room, and they told us about the fact that the gaffer was going to Southampton. And then at the time you're shocked, and because we were working with him for, I think, something like 3 years, and then you understand, because it was a Premier League side at the time. It's a great opportunity. He served the club fantastically well. So then the question was being able to be strong and then keep the momentum, because it could have cost us dear at the time. And then the new gaffer came in, and I remember I don't think we won straight away the following game. I think we drew, or we make a couple of draws. I don't remember with Bobby Williamson. You will tell me.
I can. We had a couple of draws and losses under Kevin Summerfield, but Bobby actually came in the Tuesday before the QPR game, so we did actually win his first game.
Yeah, but I remember really well. So there was a couple of draws, and the gaffer came. That was the game. I think Bobby Williamson was there, but he was not the manager. Kevin was the manager at the time, and he said, no, I'm staying in the stand, I don't want to interfere. And I remember really well during a training session after these 2 games, and he spoke with a couple of leaders in the team. And I remember asking him, and I think we asked him, said, no, gaffer, we want you in the box, and we don't want you in the stands. Now it's finished. You're there. You do the job. Because I think it was a bit, it was a question of being champions and promoted. He didn't want to steal the thing from Kev, No, I said no. Now we have to be professional and we want you there. And then the game was, the rest is history.
So the final game to really hone in on then in detail would be that QPR game. I mean, you ask so many Argyle fans, they'll say that's the most incredible game they can ever remember. Obviously, Mickey Evans got the first, you yourself got the second, didn't you? Dribbled through a few defenders, one-on-one with the keeper and slotted it home. What are your memories of that day and the evening that followed?
No, but I remember it was funny because there was Sparsky. Because I call him Sparsky because it was I couldn't pronounce it the right way, so it was a joke between us. And I still remember his famous phrase, saying, "That's it, we Friio scored. That's it, we going up," or something like that. Yeah. And he stayed because this is something different, the feeling about, at this time, we were all together in it. So that means the club, the players, the staff, but there was, the Evening Herald with Chris Errington, Sparsky. So they were part of the family because normally, now I'm in the football business, they're not your friends. The journalist or they like, but they were journalists, supporters, and it was a sensation that which is different that nowadays it cannot exist that anymore. But the feeling on that game was like a proper game. It was very good that it was Argyle QPR on the day. Not disrespect to other teams, but it was the perfect game to show people that we were up for it and we deserved what we got. And what a party after the game. Unbelievable.
And then obviously we rounded off the season brilliantly, going to Hartlepool, getting a win when we were already champions. And then that Colchester game that you mentioned with your fantastic save on the goal line, of course. Two great games to round the season off. So we went into the summer then. So, I mean, with that then, just finally on that season, how much of an impact were the other teams? You could even look at Luton in the previous year, QPR, Bristol City, the pressure of other teams. Like, were you as players kind of glued to other results, always looking at the table in the same way fans were?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But I really remember the Luton rivalry at the time with Joe Kinnear. Still remember I think he's dead now. And it was an unbelievable rivalry at the time because they were very good. They were really good at the time. But we managed to beat them, and we were, we were showing some pride as well because I think they finished the league with more than 90 points, and but we got 102. So it was, we could have finished second. No, we were ambitious and we wanted to finish top and champion. So they pushed us, and then I think the rivalry kept going, the following years. But it was great because I think I remember there was the assistant of Joe Kinnear. I don't remember his name. English, very strong, former centre back. He's been there for 8. Yeah, yeah. And I think we played the game, and I think Home Park was destroyed. The part of the stands we could see from the footage, and I had a go with him, but I didn't know him on the pitch, and he was shouting. I said, bad words, and said, "Get back in your box." And after the guys were laughing, say, "You don't know who you're talking to, because he's a tough man. You're lucky." I didn't know, but now all these little stories were funny. Yeah.
Absolutely. So obviously drawing a line under that, then with the 2 promotions, we then went into the season Bobby Williamson, of course, then the manager. We'd been promoted. So the first few weeks, you were in a very unusual position of finding it hard to get into the team, I guess, because the team made a good start without you. You had to come off the bench a little bit. Was that a frustrating experience for you being on the bench?
I think the frustration came from the suspension. Because, it was due to the red card of the last game of the season. So I was suspended the first 2 games. Whatever happened, I could not play. So obviously, if the team does well, it's difficult to get back in the team. So you have to show that you deserve to be there. But my only frustration was to not be able to compete from the start. Because when the gaffer prepare a team during the preseason, he has to he think about the first games, the first game, then the second game, and you're not available. So in preseason you don't play the full games. You're not there. He has to prepare that, and that is that's football, really.
Yeah, and then you of course did come back in, and there was that incredible game at home to Gillingham where we were 1-0 down going into stoppage time, and then we scored 2 goals to win the game, both goals by yourself. That must have just been an incredible feeling to get 2 goals so late on.
Yeah, in 96 seconds, these 2 goals, I remember really well. 2 headers, I think, one from corner. I remember really well. I think there was a guy. To be fair, I don't remember the guy, the name, who was playing for Gillingham, who played with me after at Forest, and they said, "Oh, I remember that game. We won the game. It's finished. Boom! In less than 2 minutes, we lost it. And but this is what you play football for, emotion, bringing joy to the fans, and it was great memories.
How did Bobby Williamson maybe compare with Paul Sturrock? He must have it must have been a very. I felt sorry for Bobby because it must have been very tough for him having to fill Paul Sturrock's shoes after the incredible job that he did, and I think maybe being promoted to a tough new league, he got a bit of slack maybe for results being not too great, but often that was to an extent, I guess, a construct of being promoted. But how did you find Bobby to work with and that half season you had under him in the Championship?
But to be fair, Paul Sturrock stayed a long time. 3 years, quite 3 years. It's a long time in football. So you get to know your players, you get to know the club, the way to train, your squad, and then all of a sudden a new manager comes in. It's very difficult for him because there was success for 3 years in a row, 2 championship, and then you come and you get the team. So you need to get the trust of the players. And to be fair, Bobby was a decent guy, also it was a good spirit. But then he had to make choices, and the championship is very competitive. And I remember until I left, we were really decent in the league at the time, and but some new players were coming in. It was I think everything is this is football. You have to understand when is the right moment to come and the right moment to go. And for me at the time, there was a bit of frustration for whatever. I had lots of opportunities to leave Plymouth Argyle in the past, but the family was good. The people around the club was good. Our neighbors were fantastic with my son. But then you feel it's the right moment. And then I had the opportunity to choose between 2 or 3 clubs at the time. And I decided to go to Forest. That's the way. And I think when I left, there was, I think the fans got on the social networks at the time, and there was Pasty I think there was a thread on me leaving, and I remember my parents printed all the fans, words, and there was pages, and I don't remember how many hundreds of messages, and my parents printing them. I still get like a book at my parents, and it was like unbelievable.
Yeah, there were the reports at the time where you were in some contract negotiations to stay with Argyle. I guess they kind of fell through, did they, for whatever reason?
I don't think it was a question of negotiation. It was Plymouth Argyle has always been very generous to me. My contracts at the time, we have to remember it wasn't the same money as now, but they were really kind. I didn't ask for too much, but when there was two big teams on the table at the time, there was Burnley and Forest who came in for me, and it was at the time, a big opportunity financially, and the fact that I would not have gone if I felt, it was not the right time. But I think it was the right moment because of the story. The story was fantastic, and the club was in very decent position in the championship. So there was no relegation battle or whatever. And it was the club has been very correct because at the time they asked money. It was good money at the time because I was out of contract in the summer. And so it was perfectly clear, and everybody was happy. There was a bit of sadness at the time because with the story of what happened, but also some joy and excitement to join a new project for me and my family.
Thank you, David. And I think the one of our channel members, Zach, has come in with two questions saying, do you wish you stayed at Argyle longer? Well, I think you've kind of already answered that one. And the other one he said is, what's your favourite pasty filling? Did you ever experience enjoying the good West Country pasty while you were down here?
I was saying at the time, I will never eat beans on toast. Now, 2 weeks later, beans on toast with cheddar on top. Then the pasties, we were eating pasties on the bus, very, very not really professional because we had gangsters, Yeah, I think if you show your shirt, see.
Yeah.
And I remember Wayne O'Sullivan. He was the first player I got on really well. Then he left the club, very early, because I went to his house. And to be fair, I rent his house when he left, and he took me with his wife and my wife at the time in the moors, having cream tea. That was when I discovered that it was unbelievable. That was unbelievable, but I'm like a Janner. I can eat proper. Plymouth food.
Well, I suppose the next thing that I'm going to have to ask is, when you had your cream tea, did you put your jam or your cream on first? That's good. People are going to want to know that.
Well, I think I went the French way. I put the cream first, but I think it's the other way to do it. But I will have to come back and try again.
So in Devon we go cream first. In Cornwall, where Aaron is from, they go jam first. So you've done the Devon way. So you've done it very good.
But no, the next time I will come, I will try it. I will try the other way around. But to be fair, I was about to come at our game. I say our game, but at your game, I think it was. The game was postponed due to the storm. It was a few months ago.
Oxford home, yeah.
Oxford. Yeah. You know what? I landed in Heathrow. My friend Phil Gill, who was a director at the time, picked me up at the airport. We were going to watch the game, And on the way, the guy from Plymouth called him and said, wait. The game is postponed. Well, I'm coming to England to watch Plymouth at home. And the game was postponed. And so I changed the program and we went different way. But it was unbelievable. I went specially to watch our own game against Oxford and was not able to assist the game.
Another time maybe, but I'll hand back over to Aaron for the last. He's got a couple of bits on your career after Argyle, but that's probably it for me, David. So thank you again for coming on, and thank you for an incredible 4 and a bit years with Argyle. Like I said, you were in the team when I first started going, and it was an incredible experience. So I'll hand back to Aaron for the final little bit, if that's okay.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, obviously, when we have people like yourselves come on who've paid like for 4.5 years to try and get everything into an hour. So it's a bit of a rush, but hopefully we've covered most of it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention before we move on to life after Argyle. Or?
No, I think we covered a lot, 4.5 years in 50 minutes. It's not too bad.
Not too bad. Well, obviously, you go up to Forest, unfortunately, you suffer a few injuries and you decide to retire and obviously become through your connections, become a scout, obviously with Forest themselves. Recommending Guy Moussi to Forest, and then obviously you joined United where you find Paul Pogba. You've obviously got an eye for talent. Any chance you've ever recommended any players to Argyle?
But I think I don't want to comment about what's happening at the club at this moment in time. I know it's a tough time, obviously. It's a shame because when I watched the game on Saturday, for me, clearly it was an even game. So when you see where the team is, it's a shame. But that sometimes that's football. You make good decision, you make bad decision. I think the new manager is doing well. But if I can give an advice, is just when you haven't got the money to compete with the best in your league, because I know that the budget of Argyle is probably the lowest or the second lowest in the league. You have to find different thing, different way to compete, and maybe for them to open up about there is some good players who would like to come to the championship from abroad. We know that the English players are quite expensive, so you need to be clever than others, to compete, because you have to play with your weapons. So that means maybe a network of a scouting network or connections abroad, and that's maybe a way to find a way to get out of this problematic state, because you can say whatever you want when the teams are relegated from the Premier League and they in a championship, they up there. It's very why? Because the parachute payments, because of the way they got the money from, and behind you need either to get a very strong owner or investors like the Ipswich were the richest club in League One, in Championship, and they finally ended up in the Premier League. So this is, you need to play with your weapon. When you're not strong enough financially, you need maybe to be more clever on different other aspects. But it's not a critical thing, it's not a critic. It's just like you need to think about solutions, because at some point you deserve your place in the table is relative to your budget. If you got the last budget in the league, or the second bottom budget, you where you are, you where you deserve to be. But football is different. You can do better things.
Talking about solutions, now this is a question that I've got a feeling you're not going to answer straight, but it's a question that basically everybody wanted us to ask you, in the fact that we currently have a vacancy at the club. Obviously, you've worked as a head scout and a technical director at Marseille, sporting director at Lyon, worked for some massive clubs. We are in need of a sporting director at the moment, or a director of football. Is that? Could you see yourself coming back to do that? And if not, get on the
obviously, I know the situation, and I'm now in talks with different clubs of high level, but there's one thing for sure is the result of Argyle is the first result I check, every weekend, whether I'm in charge of a project or not. But to be fair, you never say never, because I've got a real connection with the city and the club. Obviously, with the club, it's a bit different because people comes and go. So I don't know the real people. Simon Allett, I think I exchanged with him at the time when there was I gave my voice to the ticketing stuff at the time, and so he said thank you, but I don't know nobody at the club. I just wish the club, I think it's difficult. I wish them the best. If I can help the club at some point in the future, I'm not saying you cannot say no, because I said no once to come to the club, and I said yes 6 months later, or 3 months later when for the trial. So
we'll see you in 3 months. Then we'll see you in 3 months as you're unveiled as our director of football in 3 months' time, hopefully.
I cannot say no, but if they need help, I'll always be there.
Yeah, love that. Obviously, on the connection with Argyle, was there any regrets when you left? Obviously, I know. Is there a part of you looking back that wishes that maybe? I know you said it was the right time to leave Argyle when you went to Forest.
No, there is no regret, because there was circumstances at the time which led to this decision. It was the right moment for everybody, because there was in football there is cycles, and it was mine at the time, and the good thing is I've got only good memories. What can I say bad about my time at Argyle? The worst thing is we lost 6 games during the season, or 8 games during the season. So when you see what happened after with the critical financial situation, the club nearly went bankrupt. And I remember Romain was at the club at the time, so I remember they saved the club at the last game of the season for relegation, and the financial situation was very, very poor. So we have to thank the people who helped at the time, and I always been connected. I will always be connected to Argyle, that's for sure.
Yeah, love that. Obviously, like I said, you've had different roles off the pitch. Head scout, director, technical director, sporting director, even a caretaker manager in the Europa League. How does life fare off the pitch? Do you prefer it, or is there nothing like playing?
I think it's 2 different lives, but the same passion. I was lucky enough to have a career. I was lucky enough to have a career in England, which is the country of football for me. And I've lived some fantastic emotions. Was lucky enough to be part of a successful team at the time. Traveled a lot. Luckily enough, I stayed into football after my career. I got in touch with Man United a couple of years after my contract with Forest as a scout, and it was a big decision for me to go to United, because at the time it was the big United. It was just after the win of the Champions League against Chelsea in Russia, in Moscow. So I spent 9 years at United. I've learned a lot, and from the best. I was luckily enough I've been working with Sir Alex Ferguson at the time, for 5 years. So trust me, you learn a lot from this type of, person, and it gives me, a clear view of what I wanted to do next. So I was saying, staying that long at United, I will use this experience to. When I left, I decided to leave. I said, now it's up to me. I will try my best, from what I've learned. And so I went to Saint Etienne as a chief scout or head of recruitment. And we finished fourth in the league, which is, quite a finish in France. And then the opportunity to go to Marseille for a bit more than 3 years with Pablo Longoria. First as a head of recruitment, and then technical director, then sporting director, and we finished twice in the podium, which hasn't been done in 12 years. And then the opportunity arose with Lyon, which was bottom of the league in France. If I was not French, I would not have taken that challenge. Right. But I knew the potential, the city. I still live in Lyon. I'm in Lyon at the moment, and we were bottom of the league with 7 points. Statistically, it was impossible to maintain the status in the league. So it was a big work in the January transfer windows, and we finished 6th in the league, qualified straight to Europa League, which has never been done before. We were the best team in France in the second part of the season, from the worst. So that means that works.
It means you know what you're doing then, slightly.
So sorry?
It means that you know what you're doing, right? You know your job well.
I know my job. I know how to work with my team, because it's not a personal thing. It's a strategy, is a vision of what you want to do, a discipline. It's better now, because when you're a player, you're not always disciplined, you're not always correct. You go and have some fun, having beers with lads, but now when I'm on the other side, and with the new technology, the new data and everything, I'm really, really. I've learned that at United, to be very on top of everything. All the details are very, very important. The details are fantastically important about everything: what you eat, how you sleep, all the details in the club organization of the scouting department, the medical department, the data department. All this is like something behind, on the other side. Nobody sees that, but it's because of that you put the players in the best conditions. You demand a lot from the players, lots of dedication, but you have to bring the best to them also. So it's a question of strategy, organization, vision, and I always. Now, the more and more I'm into this business, I have a clear idea of the football I want to implement to my club, because you don't play a type of football in different cities. It's, certain cities, especially in England, it's different, because in England there's always been the fighting spirit, the transition game, the high intensity. But in France, if you are in Lyon, in Marseille, in Paris, or in Lens, it's not the same football the people want to see. So you have to have a clear idea of what you want to do. And I've been, working with some top coaches. Some of them are still friends, and I've got a clear idea of how I want to help a club strategically and with a clear vision.
Yeah, for sure. One last question, because I'm just interested. Obviously, I'm sure. Obviously, you took to the touchline for that game against Ajax as caretaker manager of Marseille. Mm-hmm. It was the 4-3 win, wasn't it? Not the 3-3 draw. Yeah, it was a 4-3 win.
No, it was 3-3.
Okay, but still, what's it like to be on the touchline? Is it something that you would do again, or is that?
No. I've never wanted to be a coach. but it was a special occasion because there was a problem at the club, and at the time there was a dispute between the owner, not the owner, the board and the fans. Something happened during the week, and so the boards put themselves aside. And I remember the president, Pablo Longoria, said, "David, you've got the key. You want to be the coach. You decide." So I was not the coach. I was on the bench, but there was a guy who was there, who got the badge because I've got no badge. But it was a strange experience. But it shows you different things, and I've been lucky enough to be there and see things that you normally don't see, because I've got a view from behind, which is important. I'm really get involved with my coaches and the players, but when you're part of it, you're in the changing room, you make the team talks, you think about the tactics of how you get this game played. You only get 48 hours to do that. So it was this. I think, and it was good because at the end of the day, Marseille on this season was in the semi-final of the Europa League. So this point was important.
I was going to say, I purely remember watching that game just because it was announced. Like, I think we knew like a couple of hours before that you were going to be on the touchline, and it was just like, I'm going to watch this. And I just remember Aubameyang got a brace, right? Yeah. I don't remember it that well, clearly, because I'm asking you. But yeah, no. But anyway, I think that's everything. Really appreciate, as we've taken enough of your time. We said an hour. We've run over as we always do. But no, it's genuinely an honour, and really appreciate you coming on. Thank you, David.
It was a real pleasure, lads. So I wish you all the best. You and the club. It's difficult times, but in football, you never know.
True.
Keep the trust in the team, and I absolutely have no problem in saying that the team will be always supported by the fans, home and away. This is the real strength of the club.
Thank you, David.
Okay, lads.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.